We've returned to Aoraki Mount Cook National Park to tackle one of the most popular huts in all of New Zealand, the Mueller Hut. It sits atop this ridge behind me, and it is approximately 4 to 6 hour one-way up this sheer face of this ridge. Halfway point is the Sealy Tarns. Once at the top, you have epic 360-degree views of all of Mount Cook National Park, which is known as the mountaineering capital of New Zealand, the heart of the mountaineering here in New Zealand, including Mount Cook, which is the highest mountain in New Zealand. Some epic views of the Sefton Glacier, and supposedly one of the best sunsets and sunrises in all of New Zealand, the Mueller Hut. And one of the things I love about New Zealand is that they have these Alpine huts, these remote mountain forest huts, open to the public. You do have to pay for them, and there's different prices for each one. The Mueller Hut, because it is so popular, is $45 a night per person. Some of the more remote huts that they call basic huts are only $5 a night per person. This is going to be an epic overnight adventure to the Mueller Hut, and I'm really looking forward to sharing this with you. So the first little bit of this 5-kilometer one-way tramp is pretty flat here. Then it starts gaining elevation really quickly, covering about 1,000 meters or over 3,000 feet in elevation gain over less than 5 kilometers or less than 3 miles. So pretty steep going. So about halfway up there are the Sealy Tarns, and those are little alpine sort of ponds or lakes. And that's the halfway point, and then just on that ridge on the other side is the hut, and then there's a little side track, maybe 30 minutes from the hut, to Mount Ollivier. So there can be a really high avalanche risk on this track. So it's imperative that you check in with the eyesight, the people over there at the dock hut, not only to pay for your night stay at Mueller Hut, but even if you're doing a day hike, to check those conditions, because if avalanche conditions are present or if there's snow in the forecast, you want to make sure you got the 3 essential avalanche gear items, and that is a beacon, a probe, and a shovel. Not only do you want to make sure that you have the items, but you want to make sure that you have the knowledge on how to use them properly. Could save your life. Luckily for us, we have nothing but clear blue skies, bit of snow moving in later tomorrow and through the weekend, but no avalanche risk for us. One of the best things about doing these type of alpine tramps on the Southern Island in early to mid fall, after the peak summer season, but before that heavy winter weather moves in, is you often get beautiful days like this and avoid massive crowds. There's only 8 other people staying at the hut as of right now. It's a 28-bed hut, so you get a lot of this beautiful scenery all to yourself. Like last year when we did Rupert and Kepler, very few other people there. So it took us about 2 hours and 15 minutes to reach the Sealy Tarns here. There's a bit of a little viewpoint out that way. So supposedly this is the halfway point to the hut. So another 2 hours and 15 minutes after we take a little break, get a snack here, and then we'll be up at the top. Well, we gotta be getting close because just come across some snow almost to the ridgeline, and then it's relatively flat to the hut from there. So this last little stretch of scree up to the ridge is definitely the toughest part by far. A lot of loose scree, some big boulders, so you definitely got to make sure that you're staggering behind people, that you're not directly behind people, because they could definitely kick some loose rocks down on you. Epic views still the whole way up. Just can't wait to get to the ridge to see the other side. I would say that section after the Sealy Tarns, pretty well worn, not too bad. I forgot to mention you can actually do this in winter with obviously the correct avalanche gear, and you can also rent ice axes and crampons from the dock hut down at the trailhead there, or bring your own obviously. I'm definitely grateful that we're doing this without any ice and snow covering it, because this part is pretty sketchy even without the ice and snow. Well, can see Mueller Hut in the distance there, and just absolutely beautiful views. You know, the mountains of New Zealand were formed very quickly through tectonic activity, and so because of that, you can get out into the backcountry, into some serious scenery with half a day hike at the most, and you are just out in this epicness all around. And I'm not even at the point where I can see 360 yet, but this is the backside of the ridge here, and we just heard the crackling of the glacier and a massive landslide, and I think it's on the other side of this ridge over here where the sun is hitting it. Well, good morning from what feels like the top of the world here, a little bit above Mueller Hut. Beautiful sunset yesterday, beautiful sunrise, just amazing show that the light put on against the backdrop of these glaciers and mountains and the clouds. And today, we're going to take a quick trek up. It's like 30 minutes up to this peak here. I think it's Ollivier Peak, and actually this was the first peak that Sir Edmund Hillary ever climbed, probably when he was like 3 or 4 years old. Sir Edmund Hillary, of course, the first guy to climb Mount Everest, along with Tenzing Norgay. Just taking in some epic views. Going to do a quick little summit up up to the top of this. Quick scramble up this ridgeline. Pretty rocky, and it doesn't appear to be marked, but pretty basic, pretty easy. And then maybe hang out a bit, let it warm up. We've already seen one avalanche across the way on the glaciers, and these glaciers are just totally disappearing. Epic views here on the top of this little side track. I recommend doing this in the morning after you spend the night at Mueller Hut. That way it gives the part of the track that's in the shadow right now time to get some sun on it and warm up and melt some of that ice that could potentially cause you to slip and fall down into a crevasse or off a cliff or something like that. absolutely epic time out here in Aoraki, Mount Cook National Park. If this is outside your skill set, looks pretty awesome, but a little too tough for you, I recommend you check out this video right here. I made a video on 3 easy walks in this same park that you can do. But in the meantime, get out there, find your adventure, and be infamous.
Infamous.